NorCal. 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast. I was having this discussion with a friend, and we were talking about my podcast, and he was like, hey, bro, you know what you don't do is you're not controversial enough and this and that. And I was like, look, man, I could play that key, but I'm not that type of person.
You need controversy? White people should go back to South Africa. There you go. You're good. I got you.
All right, we're going to loop that one.
Yeah, exactly. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
I don't even know who that's racist about.
And I had brought up, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with who Candance Owens is, right?
Yeah.
And I get why she's popular, but I don't want to sell my soul to the devil to be that person.
Right.
I am the same person I am around my mama, around my kids, around workers, which could cost me problems, right? But I am the same person, and I said I'm not going to be that controversial because it just isn't me. And you know, I do this because one day I want someone to come see me do comedy off of it, right?
Right.
So, and I do the same kind of comedy, and I bring her up because I feel like she veers to not the norm so she can get the attention that she needs. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, all Mexicans need to go back to Mexico. That's just not me. So I hear her shit, and sometimes there's truth in it, but it's the way she directs the truth. You know, she brings up, why is it that blacks and browns go at a higher rate into jail than everybody else? We need to fix ourselves because of this. And I'm like, no, sometimes the justice system just isn't fucking fair.
Well, it's sprinkles of truth in a milkshake of bullshit. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
What you see on the top is some colorful things to go,
Right.
oh, that's right. And then there's a 20-ounce cup of thick bullshit,
Yes.
and that's what it is.
So that's what I'm getting at, fellas. And I'll let you take it from here where do you really believe that shit's at a higher rate for blacks and browns because we're just more inherent to fucking commit crime or some shit? Like, I don't think so. Like,
You're so good at it. Like, I don't know.
Right. Just look at you.
yeah.
More.
and just remember, while you're saying what you're about to, there's probably 3 or 4 brown people robbing your house right now. So I'm just saying,
Well, they're robbing from the brown people that live in my house. So it's like all sorts of equality.
Like, yeah, take their shit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's like my kids are mixed. My wife is mixed.
I guess what
So
I'm getting
they
at
add together if you take the 4 people.
is, do
There's
you
2 colored
believe
people
that
they're
bullshit or do you see it? And maybe you could talk about, being in a mixed racial relationship. You know what I mean? Like, because you've got to have family members that are like, well, we don't know if all of them are. I hear that shit all the time from my friends that are like cool with me, but they're like, well, you're one of the good
You're
ones.
one of the good ones.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
That's
Like,
our favorite phrase. I have that tramp stamped on my on my lower back. One of the good ones. Although, actually, I would say I've heard that from my black friends too. Like, oh, Charlie's all the good is rounding up. He's all right.
Right.
He's one of the I ones. They don't throw an L or an R in there, but he's all right. He's all right.
Probably all right.
So what was the question?
Yeah, what was the,
Candance Owens.
with Candance Owens. So I
got-
feel like with Candance Owens, she's just trying to do a reverse Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was running so fast forward for progress and equality and bringing not America, but African Americans to the forefront of athletic supremacy in the Olympics. He ran in Hitler's Olympics. It was this big deal. So Candance Owens is like, well, my name is Owens. I can't run that fast forward. So I'm going to take my steps back.
I'll walk it back.
I'm going to do the hurdles in reverse, which would be fucking impressive. Like, I pay money to see somebody do hurdles backwards. But no, on the question of whether or not I see injustice first believing it happens, seeing is believing. And there are a lot of things that I've seen in person that are just a small morsel, a fraction of what people of color have been through. And in my current relationship and all my relationships, really. So I've never found white women attractive. Sorry, Mom. Sorry.
He took it.
Going way
Sorry,
back.
Mom. Jesus
Mom.
Christ.
Sorry, Mom.
You know Mother's Day's coming up, right?
It
So,
is.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
They're a big forgiveness bouquet. No, I love my mom. She's always been like a mother to me. But from day one, I just never remember finding white women attractive. It might be that I have 2 sisters, and then I'm the only male grandchild on one side. On the other side, I think I have 15 cousins, and 12 of them are female. So if I see a white woman, I assume we're related. Like, I have that assumption. It's like, oh, she's a white girl. That's cool. I'll see you at the next family brunch. Like, that's how it works.
Because
So,
I'm pretty sure we've all been through this, right? Where like you've had someone come over and not know that you're married to a Filipino, right?
Right.
And then they'll say something and be like, and then
Lupia
your
causes
wife-
cancer.
Yeah.
Say some
and
crazy
then your
shit.
wife walks in and they're like, oh fuck, like I just put my foot in my mouth, right?
Well, it's almost the not the opposite, but a little bit different because my wife is half Filipino and her dad was white. So she looks Latino. So she suffers more from we went to Mexico a few years back and people are just talking to her. It's our group. And she is the translator. She doesn't know any Spanish.
Right.
I speak Tagalog, right?
Yeah.
Right.
She knows a little bit of Tagalog. And then my younger sister, who's even whiter than me, freckles, very pale, completely fluent in Spanish. So she'd be talking at one end of the table. My wife is standing there like, see?
See?
And they just look at like we have this strange Caucasian ventriloquist thing going on that my baby sister knows all the Spanish and my wife, who looks very Hispanic, doesn't know a lick of it. So I'd say that in just the relationship aspect, it's more of we walk around and people think, oh, your wife, she's bonita. She is very, is that beautiful? She's muy bonita. And then she'll smile and say, yeah, it's nice. But no, I've been pretty fortunate to have not experienced a lot of that firsthand. The women that I dated before my wife, one was Indian. She was born and raised in the LA area, but her family came over from India. Oh. And they were not a fan of me not being Indian. Oh. And I would try so hard. I'd wear like the full dress from head to toe. I got really into Bollywood for 3 or 4 years. Which gives me like super street cred when I'm in a Lyft or Uber. And I have an Indian driver. I'd be like, hey, man, you seen them Shah Rukh Khan movies? Man, that guy is great. Tom Cruise, but better. Let me tell you, man.
Tom Cruise, but better.
You know he's a better Tom Cruise. He's even an inch taller. No, but firsthand, I don't think I've had to see as much of the racial injustice to believe it. And I'm lucky I haven't seen as much of it firsthand. But what was the question again? I want to make sure.
It was something about Candance Owens,
It
right?
was Candance. and then
Candance Owens, yeah.
The discrepancy.
So, for you,
Candace
since
Owens
you
is
know who
Gabrielle
Candace
Union
Owens
if she
is,
had white parents.
when you watch Candance Owens, Lamille, what are your thoughts behind that? Do you just like cringe, or you're like, oh, well, it's her thoughts, or do you want to be a caller into the show sometimes?
Well, so your first question or your first statement of when I watch Candance Owens, that don't happen. Yeah. And I've read 1 or 2 things about her. I mean, I've taken in probably 10 minutes of Candance Owens in my life.
Oh, okay.
All consumed. And I could quickly break out in each of these, 2 to 3 minute segments of when I took her in on all right, another one of them. And another one of them meaning trying to appease a narrative that the majority already has with regards to black folk. I really like the analogy that Charlie said is a sprinkle of truth in a big bottle of bullshit. Yeah. And that, it's exactly that. And so there's, to your point, or to your question though, regarding the number of black folk in jail compared to black and brown folk in jail or committing crime. Crime is subjective. So 20 years ago, carrying a joint in California was against the law. Today it's not, right? 20 years ago, that was primarily policed in black communities. 20 years ago, white people were walking around with joints, but police wasn't, criminalizing their community. So the average white guy walking around with a joint or cocaine never got checked on, never got pulled over, never got anything else, while anybody in the black community with a joint was actually pulled over, stopped, and then the crimes were escalated.
Well, I'm going to have to interrupt you right there because we would get stopped and they would say, hey, can I hit that? And say, you got a line, young
Right,
man? And then we do a high five, and we have
You
a,
have weed in your car? Do
Yeah.
you want some? Right?
we have a secret white person
Fucking,
handshake we share. Like that's
Right.
sorry to interrupt.
No. And so, so what gets reported is that, oh, there's a whole bunch of crimes by blacks. But it's like, what are you describing as crimes? And so that's consistent. And so another example is on the marijuana piece is when you look at the overall numbers, actually not marijuana, but in the stops in general. California does this whole, they started, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. They do a review on racial equity in terms of police stops. So there's a report that comes out every year that,
in each police department?
yes.
Oh.
And so the report this past year was the first time they shared the numbers for the top 25 police departments or law enforcement departments in California. All right, so CHP all the way down to Sac County to LA and so on and so forth. Their numbers clearly showed that based upon population, that black folk were stopped way more than their population in the state. I mean, so there's 4 or 6% of blacks in the state, and it was like 9 to 15% of the stops. Like, okay, so then you start looking at here's the representation for how often they were stopped to their population, but then, so how often were they searched? Black folk were searched way more than everybody
100%
else.
of the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they looked at, how often was something found? White folk, way up. White folk, stuff was found on white folk more than anybody else, like more than double their population, but they're still barely ever stopped. Black folk was the lowest number that where actually stuff was found on, but they continue to at least stop far more. Now, here's one of the funny pieces. You're talking about the Bollywood thing. South Asians are actually stopped at a higher rate.
Interesting. Than African Americans?
No.
Oh,
in
that's white
general, than
people,
their
okay.
population, but they're compared to their population, they're stopped often. What can you see typically about the skin of South Asians?
Is it dark?
They're dark. They
It's
look
real dark,
almost
yeah.
black. From a distance, you don't know. You pull them over, but then you see that they're released. There's no searches. There's no nothing else. The black folk were searched and everything. And so essentially,
Well, you
just
got that curry
profiling.
smell just masking the whole car. It's like, I can't smell anything in here. It smells delicious.
But so getting to your point, when people are talking about crime statistics in blacks, it's not so much how much blacks commit crime, it's how much we're policed. And so that's the statistics that you see are how much blacks are over policed and constantly policed. And the outcomes are going to simply prove that. So our justice system delivers the outcome of what it wants to see with regards to black folk. And so then you have the Candance Owens of the world who says, the data says that blacks are more violent or blacks do more crime or blacks do whatever else, because that's a narrative that's going to get her the attention and the appeasement of these white folk that actually she's speaking to, when it's really not the truth.
Well, as a white person, I feel like I need to defend us a little bit. It's not fair to say that we always have stuff on us and it's our fault. We routinely wear cargo shorts. And when you have that many pockets, how can you not have something in there that's illegal? If I have 8 or 9 pockets in shorts that just go to my kneecaps, there's going to be something illegal in one of them.
Right.
There's going to be
That's
something.
got to happen.
Yeah.
But I think I brought it up because I'm not sure if I brought it up on the last episode that we did about racial components and shit. But I tell people, I said, you guys see my son, my other son, because I was married to a Caucasian woman, their mother.
Sorry
and
about
I
that.
said, yeah.
On behalf of the white delegation, I apologize.
Right? I thought they looked good at one point in time. Not anymore, motherfuckers.
Age fast, age fast.
Yeah, like bananas. Right? But I say that because that kid looks like me. My other son looks like her. And I told them growing up, I said, you guys are going to experience life differently.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said, you will see what it's like. And I said, but I like that. I like the fact that you guys are brothers and you guys are going to have that firsthand experience. Not that I want any negative shit put on my kids, but I want them to realize it firsthand. Like why does the world treat me a little bit different, right?
Yep.
And I want to say my son has seen me get pulled over for no fucking reason. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I have to school him. I think it was this child when he was younger. I dropped my car off at like 7:00 in the morning, and we walk across the street to McDonald's. so we could go eat breakfast while my car is getting the oil changed. I get stopped for fucking walking across the street for jaywalking. And I get a ticket, right? And in this moment, I'm like, me being me, I'm like, son, this is a teachable moment. I'm like, I hear the cop stop me, and he's like, you there, stop. And I'm like, you can't be talking to us. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, do you not hear me? And I'm like, oh, shit, I guess he is talking. And his whole thing was, well, you walked across the street, a busy street, with your child, right? And I have my friend Ronnie, who normally co-hosts, and Ronnie's like, so you don't see what you did wrong? And I'm like, no, I don't fucking see what I did wrong. I'm like, first off, yes, it was 4 lanes that I had to cross. And I was like, but it was 7 o'clock in the morning. And the only car on the road was the cop that sped up to fucking stop me. I'm like, so if anybody was going to hit us, it was going to be the fucking cop.
Right.
Right? Like, and
Well,
I was
and
all,
that's all racial, man. That's 100%. What colored lines are in the intersection? White lines. What color is the man that appears on the sign to tell you to walk? It's the white man telling you to walk. So he just felt like you were disrespecting whites on like 3 different levels there.
and I wasn't going to walk down with a 3-year-old child half a quarter mile down the road to walk the crosswalk.
Right. And
When
then
it
come
was
back.
like, I was like, I didn't think nothing of it. So, we had this big debate, and I wish I could have it again on here, but Ronnie's not here, is I told him, I said, you know what I feel like, though? I tell people this all the time. I said, what's funny is I get looked at differently knowing that I look like this. I said, I have tattoos, I have different shit. And I said, but if I was a white person and dressed the same way, had the same tattoos, I would be non-threatening. It's just, it's something where I get looked at. You know how many times people come up to me at work and like, oh, I had this person this week, like, do you work here? And I'm giving out COVID vaccines. I'm like, bitch, I got scrubs on.
I got scrubs all day.
I got
What are you talking
fucking
about?
scrubs on, and I got a badge that says my fucking employer's name on it, right? So I'm like, what, do you think I just show up random places?
Well, I get that too, though. If I walk around Whole Foods, people are like, oh, you work here.
See, but they
There's a
think
collar
you
on
work
my
there.
shirt at the
I
time,
don't.
yeah.
They don't even think that I work there.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I look at shit like that where it just pisses me off when people like Candance Owens have something to say of stupid shit, because I feel like I can't wait till they pull your monkey ass over and you realize
Monkey ass. Man.
Really?
I don't mean it in that term. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
So it's just where I got that term from, man. And we was a big fucking fan. So let me clarify this for all my viewers, because I say it a lot on this shit. Where
He likes to go to the zoo. That's what it is.
We watch Menace
He's a
to
big fan of
Society.
zoos.
Right.
We watch Menace to Society, and that fucking scene where he shoots him and shit, and Kane's father shoots him, and I would have paid your monkey ass when I feel like it. Where I was like, me and my best friend growing up, I was like, man, that's our new term, man. I'm calling everybody monkey ass, right? So that's where I got it from, motherfuckers. Jesus. And I said a Kirk McHenry joke earlier, all right? I want people to think I'm stealing goddamn jokes on here. So
Well, I mean this, though, Rick, from the heart. If you were dressed the way you dress with those tattoos and you're white, I would still be scared of you. I'm all about that equality life.
well, that's growing up in Walnut Creek or Concord.
Dub
or
C
whatever.
all day.
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.